Captain Vexhai stood on the command deck of his ship, watching the stars through the large viewing window. His ship, the Eternal Radiance, was beautiful to look at. It was made of white metal that seemed to glow from inside. Blue and gold lights moved across its surface like living things. The ship was huge, bigger than most space stations that other races built. Vexhai was proud of his ship and his people. The Zephyrians had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. They were gods to the many races they had found and conquered. At least that is what those races believed. The truth was different. The Zephyrians were not really gods. They were just very advanced aliens who had learned how to make other species think they were divine. They had technology that seemed like magic to younger races. They could make themselves look like beings of pure light. They could speak directly into other people's minds. They could move objects without touching them and create energy from nothing. To primitive species, these abilities made the Zephyrians appear to be gods. And the Zephyrians liked it that way. Being worshipped was much easier than fighting wars. When a species thought you were a god, they gave you whatever you wanted. They built temples for you. They gave you their best resources. They followed your every command without question. Vexhai had been doing this job for over 200 years. He was what his people called a divine herald. His job was to find new species and make them believe the Zephyrians were gods. He was very good at his work. In his career, he had brought 23 different species under Zephyrian control. Not one of them had ever questioned his divine nature. The process was always the same. First, his scouts would find a new species that had just developed space travel. The Zephyrians liked to catch races at this stage because they were still young and easy to impress. Then Vexhai would take his ship to their worlds and perform the Divine Revelation protocol. The Divine Revelation was a carefully planned show. Vexhai would make his ship appear in the sky with bright lights and strange music. He would project himself as a giant figure of golden light above their cities. He would speak to their minds in their own language, telling them that they had been chosen for a great honor. He would perform miracles that seemed impossible to their primitive science. The results were always the same. The new species would fall to their knees in fear and wonder. They would declare the Zephyrians to be gods and beg for their wisdom and protection. Within a few months, they would be building temples and sending tribute ships full of resources to the Zephyrian Empire. It was a perfect system that had worked for thousands of years. The Zephyrian Empire now controlled 17 star systems and ruled over dozens of different species. All of them worshipped the Zephyrians as divine beings who had blessed them with their presence. But today, Vexhai was thinking about something new. His ship's sensors had detected another young species at the edge of Zephyrian space. The reports from his scouts were interesting. These beings called themselves humans, and they had recently developed faster-than-light travel. They were expanding rapidly from their home system, building colonies and exploring new worlds. What made the humans particularly interesting was how quickly they were advancing. Most species took hundreds of years to go from first space flight to interstellar travel. The humans had done it in less than 50 years. They were also different in other ways. While most species focused on one type of technology, humans seemed to develop everything at once. They had advanced computers, powerful weapons, fast ships, and complex machines. The scout reports also mentioned something unusual about human behavior. Unlike most species, humans seemed to question everything. They had dozens of different governments, hundreds of different religions, and thousands of different ways of thinking about the universe. This diversity made them unpredictable, but it also made them potentially valuable to the Empire. Vexhai was reading through the latest report when his communications officer approached. The officer was named Zethara, and she had been with Vexhai for many years. Like all Zephyrians, she was tall and thin with pale blue skin and large silver eyes. She wore the white robes that marked her as a member of the Divine Fleet. "Captain," Zethara said, bowing her head respectfully, "we have received new orders from the Council of Ascended Ones." Vexhai turned from the window to face her. The Council of Ascended Ones was the governing body of the Zephyrian Empire. They were the oldest and most powerful Zephyrians, and they made all the important decisions about which species to contact and how to control them. "What do they command?" Vexhai asked. Zethara handed him a crystal data tablet. "They want us to make contact with the humans immediately. The Council believes this species has great potential. Their rapid advancement and large population could make them very valuable tribute providers." Vexhai read through the orders carefully. The Council wanted him to follow standard protocol. He was to approach the largest human colony outside their home system and perform the divine revelation. The humans were to be brought into the Empire as quickly as possible. The Council also notes, Zathara continued, that this species seems to be naturally warlike. The humans have been fighting wars among themselves for their entire history. The Council believes that divine intervention will be particularly welcome to such a violent species. Vexhai nodded. Warlike species were often the easiest to convert. They were used to following strong leaders, and they respected power above all else. When faced with beings who seemed to have unlimited power, they usually submitted quickly and completely. Set course for the human colony designated as New Gibraltar, Vexhai ordered, and begin preparing the divine revelation protocol. We will show these humans what real power looks like. The crew moved quickly to follow his orders. The eternal radiance turned toward human space, its engines creating trails of beautiful light as it moved. The ship could travel faster than most species thought possible. It would reach New Gibraltar in just a few days. As they traveled, Vexhai studied everything the scouts had learned about humans. The species had evolved on a world they called Earth. It was a planet with many different environments, which explained why humans were so diverse and adaptable. They had developed in isolated groups for thousands of years before developing technology that let them communicate across long distances. This isolation had created many different human cultures, languages, and belief systems. Some humans believed in one god, others believed in many gods, and some believed in no gods at all. This variety might make the divine revelation more complex than usual, but Vexhai was confident it would still work. Every species had some concept of divine beings, and humans seemed to be no exception. The colony of New Gibraltar was located on a planet in a system humans called Kepler 4R42. It was their largest settlement outside the Sol system, with over 2 million inhabitants. The planet was mostly covered by oceans with several large continents. The humans had built their main city on the largest continent, near a natural harbor that reminded them of places on their homeworld. According to the scout reports, New Gibraltar was primarily a mining and research colony. The planet had large deposits of rare metals that humans needed for their technology. It also had several universities where human scientists studied the local environment and developed new technologies. The colony was governed by a man named Governor Harrison. Webb, he was an older human who had been chosen for his administrative skills and his ability to work with different groups of people. The colony also had a defense force led by a woman named Commander Sarah Chen. The defense force was small but well equipped with human military technology. Vexhai studied the images of these human leaders carefully. They looked very different from the species he usually dealt with. Humans were shorter than Zephyrians but more heavily built. They had dark eyes and came in many different skin colors. Their faces showed emotions clearly, which would make it easy to judge their reactions during the divine revelation. As the eternal radiance approached New Gibraltar, Vexhai made final preparations for the contact. He ordered his technicians to prepare the holographic projectors that would make him appear as a being of pure light. He had his communication systems ready to broadcast directly into human minds using psionic amplifiers. He prepared the energy manipulation systems that would let him perform impressive displays of power. Everything was ready for another successful divine conquest. Vexhai had no doubt that the humans would react like every other species before them. They would be afraid at first, then amazed, then worshipful. Within hours, they would be building altars and begging for the wisdom of their new gods. The ship's sensors detected New Gibraltar ahead. The planet was blue and white, with swirling clouds that reminded Vexhai of other water worlds he had visited. The human city was visible as a cluster of lights on the largest continent. Several human ships moved in orbit around the planet, but they were small and primitive compared to the eternal radiance. Beginning final approach, reported the navigation officer. The humans have detected us and are attempting to communicate using radio signals. Vexhai smiled. Radio communications were so primitive. The humans were trying to talk to him using electromagnetic waves like he was just another spaceship. They had no idea they were about to meet their gods. Ignore their communications, Vexhai ordered. Begin the divine revelation protocol. Let us show these humans what true divinity looks like. The eternal radiance moved into position above the human city. Its hull began to glow with brilliant white light. Energy patterns flowed across its surface in complex designs that seemed to have meaning beyond human understanding. The ship itself began to change shape, becoming less like a machine and more like a living thing made of pure energy. HFY took his position at the center of the command deck. Around him, holographic systems activated and psionic amplifiers powered up. He felt the familiar surge of artificial enhancement that made him seem godlike to primitive species. His consciousness expanded beyond his physical body, becoming something vast and powerful. Below on the planet's surface, humans were beginning to notice the incredible display in their sky. They were pointing and staring and taking pictures with their crude devices. Soon they would be on their knees worshipping their new divine masters. HFY prepared to address the humans for the first time. He would speak to their minds in words of power and wisdom. He would show them miracles that would convince them of his divine nature. He would begin the process that would bring humanity into the Zephyrian Empire as willing servants and tribute providers. The divine revelation was about to begin, and HFY was confident it would succeed just like all the others before it. After all, no species had ever failed to recognize the obvious divinity of the Zephyrians. These humans would be no different. The stage was set for first contact between humanity and the beings who claimed to be gods. Either side knew that this encounter would be unlike any that had come before it. Commander Sarah Chen was in the middle of reviewing defense protocols when the alarms started ringing. She looked up from her desk at the New Gibraltar Defense Command Center to see her communications officer running toward her with wide eyes. "Commander," the young officer said, breathing hard, "you need to see this. There's something in the sky above the city." Sarah followed the officer to the main viewing screen. What she saw made her stop and stare. A massive ship hung in the air above New Gibraltar's capital city. But it was not like any ship she had ever seen before. It seemed to be made of pure light, changing colors from white to gold to blue. Energy patterns flowed across its surface in ways that seemed impossible, according to everything she knew about physics. "How big is it?" Sarah asked. "Our sensors say it's over 3 kilometers long," replied Lieutenant Martinez, her tactical officer. "But the readings keep changing. Sometimes it appears solid. Sometimes it looks like it's made of energy. Our instruments can't get a clear reading on its composition." Sarah frowned. She had been a military officer for 15 years and had seen many strange things in space. But this was different. The ship didn't follow any design principles she recognized. Human ships were built for function. Strong hulls, efficient engines, practical weapon systems. This ship looked more like a work of art than a machine. "Have they responded to our communications?" she asked. "No, Commander. We've tried every frequency we know. They're not answering on radio, laser communications, or quantum channels. It's like they're ignoring us completely." Sarah's training told her to be cautious. An unknown ship that appeared without warning and refused to communicate was a potential threat. She was about to order the defense systems to active status when something incredible happened. The ship began to glow brighter. The light became so intense that people throughout the city could see it clearly, even though it was the middle of the day. Then something began to form in the air above the city center. It started as a small point of golden light, but it grew rapidly until it became a figure that was over 100 meters tall. The figure looked like a man, but it was made entirely of golden light. It had no features that Sarah could clearly see, but somehow it gave the impression of great age and wisdom. When it moved, trails of light followed behind it like a comet's tail. The figure raised its arms and the light became even brighter. Then it spoke. But it didn't speak with sound. Instead, the words appeared directly in Sarah's mind, and she could tell from the looks on her officers' faces that they were hearing the same thing. "People of Earth," the voice said inside their heads. "I am HFY, Herald of the Ascended Ones. Your species has been chosen for a great honor. We have watched your progress across the stars, and we are pleased with what we have seen." Sarah felt a strange pressure in her mind as the voice continued. It was as if something was trying to push its way into her thoughts, making her want to listen and believe without question. "Do not be afraid," the voice continued. "We are the beings your ancestors called gods. We have guided the development of countless species across the galaxy. Now we offer the same gift to humanity. Kneel before us, and we will share with you the secrets of the universe." Around the command center, Sarah watched in shock as several of her officers fell to their knees. Their eyes had become vacant, and they were staring up at the golden figure with expressions of wonder and worship. Even Lieutenant Martinez, who Sarah had always considered one of her most level-headed officers, was starting to kneel. But Sarah remained standing. Something about this whole situation felt wrong to her. The voice in her head was compelling, but her scientific training made her analyze what she was experiencing rather than simply accepting it. The figure was impressive, but Sarah noticed things that didn't fit with the idea of a divine being. For one thing, the light patterns weren't random. They followed specific sequences that reminded her of holographic projections. The voice in her head felt artificial too, like it was being transmitted through some kind of technology rather than supernatural power. "Martinez," she said quietly to her tactical officer, who was still on his knees, "run a full-spectrum analysis on that figure. I want to know what it's really made of." Martinez blinked and seemed to come back to himself. He looked embarrassed as he got back to his feet and moved to his console. "Right away, Commander." Meanwhile, the golden figure continued its speech to the city below. Throughout New Gibraltar, people were coming out of their buildings to stare up at the incredible sight. Many of them were falling to their knees just like Sarah's officers had done. "We offer you protection from the dangers of the galaxy," the voice said. "We offer you knowledge that will advance your civilization by thousands of years. We offer you a place in our great empire where you will want for nothing. All we ask in return is your worship and your loyalty." Sarah watched her instruments carefully as Martinez ran his analysis. The results were interesting. The figure was indeed a holographic projection, created by some kind of advanced technology. The ship itself was solid, but it was using energy fields to change its appearance and make it seem more mysterious than it really was. More importantly, the voice in their heads was being transmitted using a form of technology that affected brain chemistry. It was designed to make people feel compelled to believe and obey. It was sophisticated, but it was still just technology. "Commander," Martinez whispered, "the analysis is complete. That thing up there isn't a god. It's a very advanced hologram, and the voice in our heads is coming from some kind of psionic transmitter." Sarah nodded grimly. She had suspected as much. These beings, whoever they were using advanced technology to impersonate gods. The question was why. The answer became clear when the golden figure began making specific demands. It wanted the humans to build a temple in the center of the city. It wanted them to gather all their most valuable resources and prepare them as tribute. It wanted their leaders to come forward and pledge their loyalty to the Ascended Ones. This wasn't divine intervention. This was conquest disguised as religious contact. Sarah looked around the command center and saw that most of her officers were still under the influence of the alien technology. They were nodding along with everything the figure said, ready to carry out its commands without question. But not all of them were affected. Sarah noticed that the officers with the most military training seemed to be resisting the mental influence better than others. Their disciplined minds were fighting against the alien technology. She moved carefully from officer to officer, quietly shaking those who seemed most capable of independent thought. One by one, she helped them break free from the mental influence by pointing out the technological nature of what they were experiencing. "Listen to me," she whispered to each of them. "This isn't magic. It's just advanced technology. Fight it." Slowly, a small group of her officers came back to full awareness. They looked shocked and angry when they realized how they had been manipulated. "What do we do, Commander?" asked Sergeant Kim, one of her most trusted soldiers. "Most of the city is already under their influence." Sarah looked out at the city where thousands of people were kneeling in worship of the golden figure. She could see construction crews already beginning to work on the temple the aliens had demanded. The human colonial government was preparing to surrender their independence to these false gods. "First, we need to warn Earth," Sarah said quietly. "Send a coded message to Earth Defense Command. Tell them we have hostile aliens using advanced psychological warfare technology to conquer human colonies." "What about the people here?" asked Martinez. "How do we free them from this influence?" Sarah thought carefully. The alien technology was powerful, but it wasn't perfect. People with strong wills and analytical minds could resist it, especially if they understood what was happening to them. "We start by spreading the truth," she said. "These beings aren't gods. They're just advanced aliens using technology to control us. If we can get that message to enough people, some of them will be able to break free." But even as she said it, Sarah knew it would be difficult. The aliens had been very clever in their approach. They had offered humanity everything they wanted: protection, knowledge, advancement, in exchange for worship and tribute. For most people, it would seem like an easy choice. The golden figure continued its performance for several more hours. It demonstrated what it called miracles, moving objects without touching them, creating energy from nothing, healing sick people with a wave of its hand. To most observers, these displays seemed to prove the figure's divine nature. But Sarah and her small group of resistant officers watched everything through their instruments. Each miracle had a technological explanation. The object movement was done with tractor beam technology. The energy creation used advanced power systems. The healing was accomplished with medical nanobots delivered through the air. It was all very impressive technology, far beyond what humans currently possessed. But it wasn't magic and it wasn't divine power. As the day went on, Sarah watched the colony's leadership fall completely under the aliens' influence. Governor Webb made a public announcement that New Gibraltar would join the Divine Empire and begin construction of tribute ships immediately. The colony's scientists began working on projects the aliens had assigned to them. Only Sarah's small group remained free from the mental influence, and they had to be very careful not to reveal their resistance. If the aliens discovered that some humans were immune to their control, they might use more direct methods of conquest. That evening, Sarah gathered her resistant officers for a secret meeting in a shielded room deep underground. They had managed to send their warning message to Earth, but it would take weeks for any response to arrive. "We need to document everything," Sarah told them. "Every aspect of their technology, every weakness we can find. When Earth responds, they'll need all the information we can give them." "Do you think Earth will send help?" asked Sergeant Kim. Sarah looked out the window at the city where construction on the alien temple was proceeding rapidly under floodlights. The golden figure had disappeared, but the massive alien ship still hung in the sky above them like a constant reminder of their new masters. "I hope so," she said quietly. "Because if we're right about what these aliens really are, then humanity is facing a threat unlike anything we've ever encountered before." What Sarah didn't know was that the aliens had been using the same techniques for thousands of years. They had conquered dozens of other species using identical methods. They had never encountered a species that could resist their psychological control technology. But humanity was different. Humans had spent their entire history questioning authority and fighting against oppression. Some of them would always resist, no matter how compelling the alien influence might be. The stage was set for a confrontation that neither side fully expected. Admiral Marcus Webb stood in the command center of the Earth Defense Force flagship Indomitable, reading Commander Chen's report for the third time. The message had arrived 3 days ago through quantum communication channels, and its contents had changed everything. Marcus was a career military officer who had spent 40 years in space. He had fought in the Mars Independence War and the asteroid mining conflicts. He had seen strange things in the dark between stars, but nothing like what Chen was describing on New Gibraltar. Aliens claiming to be gods, he muttered to himself, using advanced technology to control human minds. His chief science officer, Dr. Elena Vasquez, looked up from her own copy of the report. Elna was a brilliant woman who specialized in xenopsychology and alien contact protocols. She had been studying the possibility of hostile alien contact for most of her career. "The technology Chen describes is fascinating," Elena said. "Direct neural manipulation using some form of electromagnetic or psionic field. If these aliens have perfected mind control technology, they represent a serious threat to human independence." Marcus nodded grimly. The report made it clear that most of New Gibraltar's population had fallen under alien influence within hours of first contact. Only a few people with strong military training or scientific backgrounds had been able to resist. "What's our response capability?" Marcus asked his tactical officer. Commander James Harrison consulted his displays. "The Third Fleet is ready for immediate deployment. 12 heavy cruisers, 4 destroyers, and the experimental ship Ragnarok. We can reach New Gibraltar in 8 days if we push the engines hard." Marcus had been hoping to avoid using the Ragnarok. The ship was humanity's most advanced warship, equipped with experimental weapons that had never been tested in real combat. It was also the most heavily armed vessel humans had ever built, designed specifically to fight unknown alien threats. But if Chen's report was accurate, they might need every advantage they could get. "Dr. Vasquez," Marcus said, "how do we fight an enemy that can control minds?" Elena had been working on this problem since the report arrived. I've been developing countermeasures based on Chen's data. The alien technology seems to work by affecting brain chemistry through external electromagnetic fields. I can design neural dampening systems that should block their influence. How long do you need? Give me 6 days. I can have prototype systems ready for installation on all our ships by the time we reach New Gibraltar. Marcus made his decision. Do it, Harrison. Prepare the fleet for immediate departure. And send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we're dealing with a Code Black scenario. Code Black was the highest level of alien threat classification. It meant that human independence and possibly human survival were at risk. It would activate emergency protocols throughout Earth's military and government. As the Indomitable and its escort ships left Earth orbit, Marcus studied everything they knew about the alien threat. Chen's report included detailed sensor readings and analysis of the alien ship and its capabilities. The data painted a picture of technology that was advanced but not impossibly so. The alien ship was large and impressive, but its energy signatures showed it was still bound by the same physical laws that governed human technology. Their miracles were accomplished through advanced engineering, not supernatural power. Most importantly, the aliens seemed to rely entirely on their mind control technology for conquest. They had made no attempt to use conventional weapons or show superior military force. This suggested they might not be prepared for an enemy that could resist their mental influence. They've probably been using the same tactics for centuries. Elena observed during one of their strategy sessions. Find a primitive species, convince them you're gods, accept their worship and tribute. It's an elegant system, but it has a critical weakness. What's that? Marcus asked. It only works if your targets believe in gods. Humans have always been skeptical about divine claims. We've spent centuries learning to question authority and think for ourselves. That makes us naturally resistant to this kind of deception. The journey to New Gibraltar gave Marcus time to plan their approach carefully. They would arrive with stealth systems active, staying hidden until they could assess the situation. If possible, they would try to free the human colonists through non-violent means. But if the aliens proved hostile, Marcus was prepared to use force. The Ragnarok was equipped with weapons that could level cities or crack planets. Quantum disruptor cannons that could tear apart matter at the atomic level. Kinetic bombardment systems that could drop tungsten rods from orbit with the force of nuclear weapons. Nanite swarms that could disassemble enemy ships molecule by molecule. Marcus hoped he wouldn't need to use any of these weapons. But if the aliens threatened humanity's freedom, he would not hesitate to protect his species. On the 6th day of their journey, Dr. Vasquez completed her neural dampening systems. The devices were small units that attached to a person's head and generated a field that blocked external mental influence. She had tested them extensively using simulations based on Chen's data. The system should provide complete protection against the alien mind control technology, she reported to Marcus. I've made enough units for the entire crew of every ship in the fleet. Marcus ordered all crew members to be equipped with the dampening systems immediately. He wasn't taking any chances with alien mental manipulation. On the 8th day, the human fleet arrived at the edge of the New Gibraltar system. They immediately activated stealth systems and began their approach carefully. Long-range sensors showed the alien ship still in orbit around the human colony. Readings confirmed Commander Chen's report. Harrison announced, one large alien vessel, approximately 3 kilometers in length. Energy signatures suggest advanced power systems, but nothing beyond our ability to counter. Marcus studied the tactical display. The alien ship was impressive, but it was also alone. If it came to a fight, 12 human warships would have a significant advantage. Any sign of additional alien vessels? Marcus asked. Negative, sir. Sensors show only the one ship. But Admiral, you should see this. Harrison activated the main viewing screen, showing them the surface of New Gibraltar. The human city had changed dramatically since Chen's report. A massive temple had been built in the center of town, made of gleaming metal that reflected the alien ship's glow. Thousands of humans could be seen moving in organized patterns around the temple, carrying supplies and resources. They're building tribute ships, Elena observed, loading them with raw materials and manufactured goods. The entire colony has been turned into a resource extraction operation for the aliens. Marcus felt anger building inside him. These aliens had conquered a human colony using deception and mind control. They were treating humans like slaves, forcing them to work for alien benefit. Take us in closer, Marcus ordered. I want to get a better look at their ship before we make contact. As the human fleet moved deeper into the system, their sensors gathered more information about the alien vessel. The ship's hull was made of an unknown metal that seemed to store and redirect energy. Its weapon systems appeared to be primarily energy-based, powerful but limited in range and effectiveness. More importantly, the ship showed no signs of detecting the approaching human fleet. Their stealth systems were working perfectly. "Admiral," the communications officer reported, "I'm detecting coded transmissions from the planet's surface. Someone down there is trying to contact us." Marcus smiled grimly. "That would be Commander Chen. Put her through." Chen's face appeared on the communication screen. She looked tired and stressed, but her eyes were alert and determined. "Admiral Webb," she said quietly, "thank God you're here. The situation is worse than my initial report indicated. The aliens have complete control over most of the population. Only about 30 of us have remained free from their influence." "What's the alien response capability?" Marcus asked. "Unknown, sir. They haven't shown any conventional weapons. Everything they've done has been through their mind control technology and energy manipulation systems. But Admiral, there's something else you should know." "Go ahead, Commander." "The alien captain tried to contact their home fleet yesterday. I don't know if the message got through, but if it did, we might be facing reinforcements soon." Marcus processed this information quickly. If more alien ships were coming, the human fleet needed to act fast. "Chen, can you get your people to safety if shooting starts?" "Yes, sir. We have a secure facility outside the city. But what about the rest of the colonists?" "We'll do everything we can to free them," Marcus promised. "Dr. Vasquez has developed countermeasures for the alien mind control technology. If we can disrupt their systems, the colonists should return to normal." Marcus cut the communication and turned to his officers. "Gentlemen, we have a situation. Hostile aliens have conquered a human colony using advanced psychological warfare. They're treating our people as slaves and may be calling for reinforcements." He looked around the command center at the faces of his crew. These were professional military officers who had sworn to protect humanity from all threats. "Our mission is simple," Marcus continued. "We're going to free those colonists and send these false gods a message they'll never forget." "Any questions?" There were no questions. Every officer on the bridge understood what needed to be done. "Harrison, take us out of stealth and broadcast on all frequencies. Let's introduce ourselves to these aliens properly." The human fleet dropped their stealth systems and appeared suddenly in the space above New Gibraltar. 12 heavily armed warships materialized as if from nowhere, surrounding the alien vessel. Marcus activated the fleet's communication systems and broadcast on every frequency he could reach. "Attention, alien vessel. This is Admiral Marcus Webb of the Earth Defense Force. You are in violation of human territorial space and have committed acts of aggression against human civilians. You will release the human colonists immediately and withdraw from this system." For a moment, there was no response from the alien ship. Marcus could imagine the shock and confusion on their bridge as they realized they were facing an enemy they hadn't expected. Then the golden figure appeared again above New Gibraltar's city. But this time it wasn't speaking to the human colonists. It was speaking directly to the human fleet. "I am Vexhai, herald of the Ascended Ones," the voice said in their minds. "You dare to challenge beings of divine power? Kneel before us and we may show mercy for your ignorance." Marcus felt the pressure of the alien mental influence trying to push into his mind, but Dr. Vasquez's neural dampening system blocked it completely. Around the bridge, his officers remained alert and unaffected. "Your mind control technology doesn't work on us," Marcus broadcast back. "We know what you really are. You're not gods. You're just another species with advanced technology, and now you're going to learn what happens when you threaten humanity." The alien ship began to glow brighter, energy patterns flowing across its hull in what was probably meant to be an intimidating display. The golden figure above the city grew larger and more menacing. But Marcus and his crew were not impressed. They had seen their own holographic technology and energy weapons. What the aliens were doing was advanced, but it wasn't magical. "Last warning," Marcus broadcast. "Release the humans and withdraw, or we will consider you a hostile force and respond accordingly." The alien response came not in words, but in action. Brilliant beams of energy lanced out from their ship toward the Indomitable. The attacks were powerful and beautiful, but the human ship's shields absorbed them easily. Marcus turned to his tactical officer with a cold smile. "Harrison, you may fire when ready." The battle began with a display of light and energy that could be seen from the surface of New Gibraltar. The alien ship, the Eternal Radiance, unleashed everything it had against the human fleet. Beams of pure energy struck the human ships, creating brilliant explosions that lit up the darkness of space. Captain Vexhai stood on his command deck, confident that his divine power would quickly destroy these rebellious humans. For 3,000 years, no species had ever challenged the Zephyrians directly. The very idea was unthinkable. "Increase power to all weapon systems," Vexhai ordered his crew. "Show these primitives the true strength of the gods." The Eternal Radiance's energy weapons fired again and again. Each blast was powerful enough to destroy a city on most worlds. The light show was spectacular, designed to inspire fear and awe in anyone who witnessed it. But the human ships absorbed the attacks easily. Their shields flickered and glowed under the assault, but they held firm. The advanced energy weapons that had terrorized dozens of species were barely scratching the human defenses. Admiral Marcus Webb watched the alien attack from the bridge of the Indomitable with professional interest. The alien weapons were impressive in their visual effects, but they were surprisingly weak in actual combat power. "Energy weapons only," he observed to his tactical officer. "No kinetic weapons, no missiles, no plasma cannons. They're not built for real combat." Commander Harrison nodded as he analyzed the alien attacks. "Their weapons seem designed more for intimidation than destruction, sir. All flash and no substance." This made sense to Marcus. If the aliens had been conquering species through psychological warfare for thousands of years, they wouldn't have needed powerful weapons. They would have focused their technology on deception and control rather than military strength. "Return fire," Marcus ordered. "Let's show them what real weapons look like." The human fleet responded with a coordinated attack that was nothing like the alien energy beams. Instead of beautiful light shows, the human weapons were designed for maximum destructive efficiency. The Ragnarok fired first. Its quantum disruptor cannon sent invisible beams of energy that tore through the alien ship's hull like it was made of paper. The exotic matter that composed the Eternal Radiance began to break down at the molecular level, creating holes that glowed with deadly radiation. The other human ships followed with their own attacks. Kinetic weapons hurled tungsten rods at significant fractions of light speed. Plasma cannons fired superheated gas that burned through armor like acid. Missile systems launched smart weapons that could adapt their attack patterns to counter defensive measures. The contrast between the two fighting styles was obvious to everyone watching. The alien attacks were beautiful but ineffective. The human attacks were ugly but devastatingly powerful. Within minutes, the Eternal Radiance was heavily damaged. Explosions rocked the ship as its energy systems overloaded. The beautiful flowing lights that had covered its hull began to flicker and die. On the alien command deck, panic was setting in for the first time in centuries. Vexhai watched in disbelief as his ship took damage from weapons he didn't even understand. "Shields are failing," reported his tactical officer. "Hull breaches on decks 7 through 15. We're losing atmosphere and power throughout the ship." Vexhai couldn't understand what was happening. No species had ever been able to hurt a Zephyrian ship before. Their technology was supposed to be superior to anything other races could develop. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "We are gods. Their primitive weapons should not be able to harm us." But his science officer had been analyzing the human attacks, and the results were terrifying. "Captain, these humans have technology we've never seen before. Their weapons operate on principles we don't understand, and their ships are much more advanced than our scouts reported." The truth was becoming clear to Vexhai. The humans were not the primitive species he had expected to conquer easily. Somehow they had developed military technology that was superior to anything the Zephyrians possessed. "Attempt to escape," Vexhai ordered desperately. Full power to engines, but it was too late. The human ships had surrounded the Eternal Radiance completely. When the alien ship tried to flee, they were ready for it. The Indomitable fired a spread of quantum torpedoes that struck the alien ship's engine section. The exotic matter that powered the Zephyrian drive systems destabilized, creating a chain reaction that crippled the ship completely. The Eternal Radiance went dark. Its beautiful energy patterns died out, leaving only a damaged metal hull drifting helplessly in space. For the first time in 3 millennia, a Zephyrian ship had been defeated in battle. But the battle had effects beyond just military victory. On the surface of New Gibraltar, thousands of human colonists who had been under alien mental control suddenly found themselves free. The alien mind control technology required enormous amounts of power to maintain, and that power came from the ship's main reactors. When the human attack damaged those systems, the psychological influence over the colonists was broken immediately. Commander Sarah Chen, watching from her hidden observation post, saw the change happen instantly. One moment, the colonists were working like slaves to build tribute ships for their alien masters. The next moment, they were looking around in confusion, wondering why they were kneeling in worship of a golden hologram. "The mind control is breaking down," she reported to Admiral Webb. "People are returning to normal throughout the city." On D, the command deck of the Indomitable, Marcus felt a surge of satisfaction. They had not only defeated the alien ship, they had freed the human colonists without harming them. But Marcus was a careful military commander. He knew the battle wasn't over yet. "Dr. Vasquez, scan that alien ship. Are there any survivors?" Elena worked at her science station, using every sensor the human fleet possessed to examine the damaged alien vessel. "Life signs confirmed, Admiral. The ship is heavily damaged but still has atmosphere in some sections. I'm reading approximately 200 alien life forms still alive." Marcus considered his options. He could finish destroying the alien ship, ensuring that none of its crew survived to report back to their home empire, or he could attempt to capture some of the aliens for interrogation and study. The decision was made easier when his communications officer spoke up. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the alien ship. They're asking to surrender." Marcus raised an eyebrow. In all his years of military service, he had never had an enemy ask to surrender before even trying to negotiate. "Put them through," he ordered. Captain Vexhai appeared on the main screen, and Marcus got his first good look at one of the beings who claimed to be gods. The alien was tall and thin with pale blue skin and large silver eyes. He wore white robes that were now torn and stained with some kind of purple blood. But what struck Marcus most was the expression on Vexhai's face. It was pure terror. This was not a being who expected to be worshipped. This was someone who had just learned what it felt like to be completely outmatched by a superior enemy. "I am Captain Vexhai of the Zephyrian Empire," the alien said, his voice shaking. "I formally request terms of surrender. Please do not destroy my ship. We yield to your superior power." Marcus studied the alien captain carefully. Vexhai was clearly terrified, but he was also confused. The alien seemed unable to understand how he had been defeated so easily. "I am Admiral Webb of the Earth Defense Force," Marcus replied coldly. "Before I consider any terms of surrender, I want answers. How many human colonies have you attacked? How many other species have you enslaved with your mind control technology?" Vexhai looked even more frightened at these questions. We have guided many species to enlightenment over the millennia. 17 star systems acknowledge the wisdom of the Ascended Ones. But we are not conquerors. We are divine beings offering guidance to younger races." Marcus felt anger building inside him. Even now, facing defeat and possible death, this alien was still trying to maintain his lies about being a god. "You're not gods," Marcus said firmly. "You're slavers using advanced technology to control other species. And that ends now." But before Vexhai could respond, alarms began sounding on both the human and alien ships. Long-range sensors had detected something new approaching the system. "Admiral," Commander Harrison reported urgently, "we have multiple contacts incoming. Large ships moving fast. They'll be here in less than an hour." Marcus turned to Dr. Vasquez. "Analysis." Elena studied the sensor readings carefully. The energy signatures matched the damaged alien ship. "It looks like Captain Vexhai's call for help was successful. I count at least 15 ships, all larger than the one we just defeated." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. His small fleet had barely defeated one alien ship. Now they were facing 15 more, and these new arrivals would be prepared for battle. On the alien communication channel, Vexhai was smiling for the first time since the battle began. "The divine fleet comes," he said with growing confidence. "You may have defeated one ship through treachery and luck, but you cannot stand against the full power of the Ascended Ones." Marcus cut the communication channel and turned to his officers. They were facing a crisis that could determine the fate of not just New Gibraltar, but possibly all of humanity. "Options?" he asked tersely. Commander Harrison consulted his tactical displays. "We could retreat back to Earth and warn them to prepare defenses. Or we could stay and fight, but the odds would not be in our favor. Dr. Vasquez spoke up from her science station. Admiral, there's a third option. If we can capture some of their technology and learn how their systems work, we might be able to turn their own weapons against them. Marcus looked out at the damaged alien ship floating helplessly in space. It contained technology that humanity had never seen before. If they could understand how it worked, it might give them the edge they needed against the incoming alien fleet. But they had less than an hour before the new alien ships arrived. It would be a race against time to board the alien vessel, capture its technology, and prepare for a battle that would determine whether humanity remained free or became another species enslaved by false gods. Harrison, prepare boarding teams, Marcus ordered. Dr. Vasquez, I want you personally leading the technology capture mission. We're going aboard that alien ship, and we're going to learn everything we can about how they work. The next hour would determine whether humanity's first interstellar war would end in freedom or slavery. Dr. Elena Vasquez moved quickly through the damaged corridors of the alien ship, her boarding team following close behind. They had less than 40 minutes before the Zephyrian reinforcements arrived, and she needed to understand as much as possible about their technology in that short time. The interior of the Eternal Radiance was unlike anything she had ever seen. The walls seemed to be made of the same energy-conductive metal as the hull, but they glowed with soft patterns of light that pulsed like a heartbeat. The architecture was flowing and organic, more like the inside of a living creature than a machine. This way, she told her team, following her scanner toward the ship's main computer core. The captain's bridge should have the information we need. Behind her, the boarding team moved with military precision. They were Marines trained for hostile environments, equipped with the best armor and weapons humanity could produce. Each soldier also wore one of Elena's neural dampening devices to protect them from any remaining alien mind control technology. The ship's corridors were filled with a strange mist that Elena's instruments identified as a complex mixture of gases, designed to maintain the alien atmosphere. It wasn't poisonous to humans, but it made everything look dreamlike and mysterious. They encountered their first group of alien survivors near the ship's center. 3 Zephyrians were huddled in a side corridor, tending to their wounded. When they saw the human boarding party, they reacted with obvious fear. Elena held up her hand to signal her Marines to hold their fire. She activated her translation device and spoke to the aliens in their own language. "We're not here to hurt you," she said. "We need information about your technology. Cooperate with us and you'll be treated well." The lead alien, a female with pale blue skin and silver eyes, looked at Elena with confusion and terror. You speak our language." "How is this possible?" "We're very good at learning," Elena replied. "What's your name?" "I am Zara Lynn, Communications Officer of the Divine Fleet," the alien said hesitantly. "But you cannot be here. Mortals cannot board the ships of the gods," Elena sighed. Even after their complete military defeat, these aliens were still clinging to their delusions about being divine beings. "Listen carefully, Zara Lynn," Elena said firmly. "We know you're not gods. We've analyzed your technology. It's advanced, but it's still just technology. Your mind control systems, your energy weapons, your ship's power source, why don't we understand how they work?" The alien woman's eyes widened in shock. That's impossible. The secrets of the Ascended Ones cannot be understood by primitive species." One of Elena's Marines stepped forward. "Doc, we need to move. We've got 35 minutes left." Elena nodded and turned back to Zara Lynn. "Come with us to your ship's command center. Help us understand your systems, and I promise no harm will come to you or your crew." Zara Lynn looked uncertain, but she nodded slowly. "The bridge is this way," she said quietly. As they moved through the ship, Elena asked questions about everything they saw. She learned that the Zephyrians had been using the same basic technology for thousands of years. They had perfected their mind control and energy manipulation systems, but they had never needed to develop better weapons or defenses. "We have never faced resistance before," Zara Lynn explained, as they climbed through a damaged section of the ship. "All species accept our divine nature within days of first contact. We offer them protection and knowledge in exchange for worship and tribute." "What happens to species that don't want your protection?" Elena asked. Zara Lynn looked confused by the question. "That has never happened. All intelligent species recognize the wisdom of submitting to superior beings." Elena realized that the Zephyrians had never encountered a species like humanity before. For 3 millennia, they had only met younger, more primitive civilizations that were easy to impress and control. They had never had to deal with a species that questioned authority or refused to accept claims of divinity. They reached the ship's command center, and Elena's breath caught in her throat. The bridge was a work of art as much as a place of work. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing information in 3-dimensional patterns of light. Control surfaces flowed like liquid metal, reshaping themselves based on what functions were needed. But underneath the beautiful appearance, Elena could see the same basic principles that governed human technology. Computers, power systems, communication arrays, all arranged in ways that were aesthetically pleasing but functionally familiar. "Show me your communication system," Elena ordered. "I need to understand how you contact your fleet." Zaralyn moved to one of the control stations and activated a series of displays. Elena watched carefully as information flowed across holographic screens in the alien language. "This is our quantum communication array," Zaralyn explained. "It allows us to speak instantly with any ship in the Empire, regardless of distance." Elena studied the system with growing excitement. The Zephyrian communication technology was more advanced than anything humans had developed, but she could understand the basic principles. If she could adapt it to human ships, it would give them a massive advantage in coordinating military operations across interstellar distances. "What about your power systems?" she asked. Zaralyn led her to another section of the bridge where energy patterns flowed through crystal structures that pulsed with inner light. "We draw power from quantum fluctuations in space itself," she explained. "It provides unlimited energy for all our needs." Elena's eyes widened. If humans could understand and replicate this technology, it would revolutionize everything from spaceship propulsion to planetary power generation. But before she could ask more questions, her communication device crackled with Admiral Webb's voice. "Dr. Vasquez, you need to get back to your ship immediately. The alien fleet has arrived early. They're dropping out of hyperspace now." Elena looked out through the bridge's viewing ports and saw points of light appearing in the darkness of space. Each light grew larger and brighter as alien ships materialized from faster-than-light travel. She counted 15 massive vessels, each one larger than the damaged ship she was standing on. The newcomers were arranged in a battle formation that suggested they were prepared for a fight. "Admiral," Elena said into her communicator, "I need 5 more minutes. I'm on the verge of understanding their core systems." "You don't have 5 minutes," Webb replied urgently. "The lead alien ship is powering weapons and demanding our surrender. Get your team back here now." Elena looked around the alien bridge one more time, trying to memorize everything she could see. Then she turned to Zaralyn with a desperate idea. "Listen to me very carefully," she said to the alien woman. "Your empire is about to start a war with humanity. But it doesn't have to happen. We can work together instead of fighting." Zaralyn shook her head. "The Divine Fleet will never negotiate with mortals who refuse to acknowledge our godhood." "Then your people are going to die," Elena said bluntly. "You've seen what our weapons can do to your ships. We don't want to hurt you, but we won't be enslaved either." She paused, then made a decision that could change everything. "Come with me," Elena said to Zaralyn. "Come to our ship as a prisoner or as a guest, your choice. Help me prevent this war before it destroys both our species." Zaralyn looked around at her damaged bridge and her wounded crew members. Then she looked back at Elena with something that might have been respect. "I will come," she said quietly. "Perhaps there are things about your species that the Empire needs to understand." Elena and her boarding team made it back to the Indomitable, just as the alien fleet completed their battle formation. Admiral Webb met them in the docking bay, his face grim with tension. "Report," he ordered tersely. "Their technology is advanced but understandable," Elena said quickly. "More importantly, they've never faced serious resistance before. They're not prepared for real combat." Webb nodded. "That matches what we're seeing from their fleet positioning. They're assuming we'll surrender when faced with superior numbers." He activated the ship's communication system and broadcast on all frequencies. "Alien fleet, this is Admiral Webb of the Earth Defense Force. We have your captain and crew as prisoners. Withdraw from this system immediately, or we will consider your presence an act of war." The response came in the form of a massive holographic projection that appeared in space between the two fleets. It showed a Zephyrian who was even more impressive looking than Captain Vexai. This alien wore robes that seemed to be made of starlight itself, and energy crackled around him like controlled lightning. I am High Commander Zethmore of the Divine Fleet, the figure announced, its voice somehow reaching every ship in both fleets. You mortals have committed an unforgivable sin by attacking servants of the gods. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. Admiral Webb smiled coldly. Dr. Vasquez, are your neural dampeners working? Elena checked her instruments. All human ships are protected. From their mind control technology. Good. Then, let's show these false gods what happens when they threaten humanity. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Zephyrian fleet attacked with overwhelming numbers and impressive energy weapons that lit up space with beautiful deadly light. But the human fleet fought with cold precision and devastating firepower. Quantum weapons tore through alien hulls. Kinetic projectiles struck with the force of small nuclear explosions. Smart missiles adapted to counter alien defenses in real time. Most importantly, the human fleet fought with coordination and tactical intelligence that the Zephyrians couldn't match. While the aliens relied on individual ship commanders making independent decisions, the human ships worked together as a single unified force. Within an hour, half the alien fleet had been destroyed or disabled. The beautiful energy beings who claimed to be gods were revealed as mortal creatures who could bleed and die like anyone else. High Commander Zethmore's ship, the largest and most powerful in the alien fleet, found itself surrounded by human vessels. Its weapons were exhausted, its shields were failing, and its crew was in panic. Admiral Webb opened a communication channel to the alien commander. This is your last chance, Webb said firmly. Surrender now, and your surviving crew will be treated according to the laws of war. Continue fighting, and we will destroy every ship in your fleet. On the screen, High Commander Zethmore looked nothing like the godlike being he had appeared to be at the start of the battle. His starlight robes were torn and dirty. Energy no longer crackled around him. He looked like what he really was, a defeated military commander whose tactics had failed completely. I would say surrender, Zethmore said, his voice barely a whisper. The Divine Fleet yields to the humans. The words were broadcast across all remaining alien ships, and one by one they powered down their weapons and admitted defeat. But Admiral Webb wasn't finished yet. He had one more message to send. Attention Zephyrian Empire, he broadcast on the alien communication frequencies. This is Admiral Marcus Webb of the Earth Defense Force. Your fleet has been defeated. Your false claims of divinity have been exposed. From this day forward, humanity will patrol this region of space. Any attempt to enslave or control other species will be met with force. He paused, then delivered the message that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. To all species currently under Zephyrian control, you are free. Humanity offers friendship and alliance to any race seeking independence from false gods. We will help you build your own defenses and govern yourselves according to your own choices. The message was transmitted across dozens of star systems where subject species had served the Zephyrian Empire for centuries. On world after world, populations that had thought themselves bound to serve gods forever learned that their masters were merely mortals with advanced technology. Rebellions broke out across the Zephyrian Empire within days. Species that had been enslaved for generations threw off their chains and declared independence. The 3,000-year reign of the false gods crumbled in less than a week. Admiral Webb stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, looking out at the stars where human and alien ships were now working together to rescue survivors and tend to the wounded. Commander Chen approached from the planet's surface, where she had been coordinating the restoration of normal life to the new Gibraltar colony. Admiral, she said with a smile, I have a message from Earth Command. They're asking when you'll be ready to begin diplomatic contact with the liberated species. Webb looked out at the galaxy that humanity was now helping to reshape. Dozens of species were free for the first time in centuries. Technologies were being shared. New alliances were being formed. Tell Earth Command we're ready now, he said. Humanity has work to do. The age of false gods was over. The age of human leadership had begun.
The Galactic Empire had been conquering planets for centuries. They were known as the most powerful force in the entire galaxy. Nothing could stand in their way. It didn't matter if a planet was full of advanced civilizations or simple life forms. They conquered them all. The Empire had the technology, the soldiers, and the will to control the universe. No one dared to challenge them. One day, in the Empire's Grand Council room, the leaders gathered for an important meeting. The room was filled with generals, scientists, and politicians, all discussing the next big mission. The emperor, the ruler of the empire, sat at the head of the table, his face hard and cold like stone. He had just received word of a new planet, Earth. Earth, the emperor spoke, his voice deep and menacing. It's a small, insignificant planet. The inhabitants are primitive, and their technology is barely above Stone Age level. We've faced worse in the past. This will be an easy conquest. The other leaders nodded in agreement. They had already begun their preparations. Earth was far from the Empire's most important mission, but it would be a quick and simple victory. The warship they were sending was the most powerful in the galaxy. The Vanguard was enormous, equipped with weapons that could destroy entire cities with a single blast. It was a ship unlike anything anyone on Earth could imagine. The Empire's top general, Commander Zorath, stood up. He was a tall, muscular alien with silver scales covering his skin. He looked at the Emperor and said, "The Vanguard is ready, Your Majesty. It will arrive at Earth's atmosphere in 3 days. We will crush them in hours. Their planet will be ours, and their people will serve us." The Emperor smiled, pleased by the confidence of his general. "Excellent. I want Earth under our control by the end of the week. Their resources will be valuable. And if the humans prove difficult, we will show them why the Empire is unstoppable." The leaders in the room exchanged knowing looks. The humans on Earth were no threat. They were nothing more than a nuisance, a small, weak species. The Empire had wiped out entire civilizations without breaking a sweat. Earth would be no different. As the meeting came to an end, Commander Zorath prepared the Vanguard for its mission. The warship was filled with the best soldiers the Empire had to offer, and Zorath's fleet was powerful beyond imagination. They would land on Earth's surface, wipe out any resistance, and force the humans to surrender. The Vanguard would make quick work of them. The Vanguard was not only a symbol of the Empire's power, but also a deadly machine designed to destroy. It had shields that could absorb any attack, weapons that could burn through any defense, and a crew trained to handle anything. There was no way humans could win against such a force. But what the Empire didn't know was that Earth was not as defenseless as it seemed. For years, a group of humans had been secretly studying the stars. They had been watching the skies, learning about the universe around them. They knew the dangers other species posed, and they weren't as unprepared as the Empire thought. Beneath the surface of Earth, in hidden military bases, scientists had been working on advanced technology. Their goal wasn't to conquer other planets, but to protect their own. And they had no idea that their peaceful world would soon face a threat from the stars. As the Vanguard began its journey toward Earth, the Empire's leaders sat back in their grand council room, confident of victory. They laughed at the thought of the humans even trying to resist. "This will be a simple job," one of the generals said, a smirk on his face. "We'll be back in time for the next mission." The Emperor nodded, his eyes gleaming with greed. "Earth will fall in no time. We'll take everything they have, and they won't even know what hit them." Back on Earth, people were living their ordinary lives. No one knew what was coming. But the Empire had made a big mistake. They had underestimated the humans. They thought Earth was just another weak planet that would fall with ease. They were wrong. And soon, they would find out just how wrong they were. While the Galactic Empire was busy planning their invasion, Earth seemed peaceful and unaware of the threat coming from the stars. People went about their daily lives, working, studying, and spending time with their families. They had no idea that their world was about to face the most powerful force in the universe. But beneath the surface, far away from the busy cities and the eyes of ordinary citizens, there was a secret Earth had kept hidden for years. Deep in the mountains, far from the reach of any prying eyes, a group of scientists had discovered something strange many years ago. It wasn't anything big at first, just a small object they found buried deep in the ice. But that small object turned out to be the key to unlocking Earth's survival. It was an alien artifact, something not from Earth, and it gave them knowledge they could never have dreamed of. The artifact was ancient, much older than any civilization on Earth. It was clear that it had traveled across the stars, just like the Empire. The scientists didn't know it at the time, but the discovery of this artifact would change everything. For years, they studied it in secret. They didn't tell the public, and only a handful of people knew about it. The artifact contained knowledge far beyond anything humanity had ever learned. It had advanced technology that could change the course of history. The scientists quickly realized that this technology could protect their world from a powerful alien invasion. They kept their work a secret, knowing that if the wrong people found out, they would try to use it for their own purposes. As time passed, the small group of scientists worked day and night, using the alien artifact's knowledge to build advanced weapons, defense systems, and technology that Earth had never seen before. They worked quietly in hidden laboratories, underground bunkers, and research facilities far away from major cities. They knew they had to be careful. The Empire could be watching, and if they knew what Earth was preparing, it would all be over before it started. The secret research led to the creation of new weapons and machines that could fight back against any invader. The scientists didn't have a lot of time to prepare, but they knew that their technology was Earth's only hope. They had developed defense systems that could detect incoming alien ships, advanced electromagnetic pulses capable of disabling enemy weapons, and stealth technology that made their best soldiers invisible to alien sensors. These were things the Galactic Empire had never imagined humans could create. One of the greatest achievements of the scientists was the building of a massive underground military base hidden deep beneath the Earth's surface. This base was designed to withstand anything, from nuclear blasts to alien invasions. It was a city inside a mountain, filled with advanced labs, barracks for soldiers, and control rooms that monitored every part of the Earth's defense systems. The base had been ready for years, and it was only now that the world would need it. The scientists worked in secret, gathering the best soldiers and strategists to train for a war they knew would eventually come. These soldiers were different from any normal army. They were elite forces, trained to fight in ways the Empire would never expect. They were prepared to defend Earth with everything they had, but they had no idea how soon that moment would come. As the Empire's Vanguard ship made its way toward Earth, the first signs of danger were detected by Earth's hidden defense systems. A small group of high-ranking military officers were the first to know. They received encrypted messages warning them of the incoming invasion. At first, they didn't believe it. How could the Galactic Empire, a force so powerful and distant, even know about Earth? They thought it was a mistake. But as the signals grew stronger, they realized it was true. The Empire was coming. The officers quickly contacted the scientists who had been working in secret. They told them that the time had come. The world needed the technology they had developed, the hidden base, the advanced weapons, and the soldiers who had trained for years. Everything was about to be put to the test. As the countdown to the Empire's arrival began, the hidden defenses of Earth slowly activated. In the mountains, underground bunkers came to life with the hum of advanced machinery. Across the world, hidden satellites scanned the skies, searching for the first signs of enemy ships. The scientists and military officers who had kept Earth's secrets for so long now knew their moment had come. The Vanguard was on its way, but they were ready. The world had no idea what was coming, but those who knew were preparing for the fight of their lives. Earth's hidden secrets were about to be revealed, and the Galactic Empire would learn that humans were not as weak as they thought. They were ready to defend their planet, no matter the cost. The Vanguard was almost there. For days, the massive warship had been traveling through space, making its way to Earth's atmosphere. On board, the Galactic Empire's soldiers were preparing for the invasion. Commander Zoreth stood at the ship's control center, staring out at the blue and green planet below. He had been through many battles, but this one felt different. Earth was small, and the humans were primitive. They wouldn't stand a chance. Prepare to enter the atmosphere, Zorath commanded. His voice was calm, but inside, he was eager to get the job done. The Vanguard was a weapon of unimaginable power, and no one had ever stood up to it. The ship's engines hummed as it descended toward Earth, the final stage of their journey. The plan was simple: land on Earth's surface, crush any resistance, and claim the planet as the Empire's own. Back on Earth, the hidden defense systems were already on high alert. Earth's military had been tracking the Vanguard since it entered the solar system, and now, the time had come to defend their planet. Deep in the mountains, in the secret military base, the scientists and soldiers gathered around the control panels. The countdown had begun. The first sign of battle appeared on the radar. An enormous object was approaching Earth at high speed. It was the Vanguard. "Activate the defense grid," one of the generals said urgently. The hidden satellites that had been quietly watching the skies for years were now fully activated. The advanced systems Earth had secretly built over the years were ready to face their first test. The soldiers on the ground were ready too. They had trained for this moment, but nothing could prepare them for what they were about to face. As the Vanguard entered Earth's atmosphere, its size was overwhelming. The ship blocked out the sun, casting a shadow over the land below. It was like a giant storm cloud, only it wasn't made of rain, it was made of fear. Commander Zorath felt the ship shudder as it passed through the atmosphere, but he remained calm. The Vanguard was built to withstand anything. There was no force that could stop it. Then, just as the Vanguard neared the ground, something unexpected happened. A loud, sharp signal echoed through the ship. As the Vanguard struggled to stay in the air, the humans launched their next move. A group of elite soldiers, specially trained to fight in space, had been preparing for this moment. They boarded high-tech ships that were designed to pierce the Vanguard's shields. These ships were equipped with advanced weapons, including EMP blasts and powerful laser cannons. They raced toward the warship, weaving through the chaos of the battle. The elite soldiers fired their weapons at the Vanguard's weak points, targeting the shield generators. With every strike, the warship's defenses weakened. Zorath watched in disbelief as his ship, once invincible, started to fall apart. The humans were not just fighting back, they were winning. "We can't hold them off any longer," Zorath shouted. He was losing control. The Vanguard was damaged, its weapons disabled, and now even its shields were failing. The first battle for Earth. The battle was far from over, but humanity had already made its mark. The Vanguard was in chaos. Its once impressive shields were failing, its weapons were offline, and the warship was struggling to maintain control. The soldiers and commanders aboard the ship couldn't believe what they were seeing. Earth, weak, small Earth, was giving them a fight like nothing they had ever experienced, and they were losing. Inside the Vanguard, Commander Zorath paced back and forth, his mind racing. He had never faced a situation like this. The Vanguard had always been invincible, but Earth's defenses had caught them off guard. "Report," he barked. "Shields at 60%, one of his officers shouted, panic in their voice. "We've lost control of the weapons systems. The electromagnetic pulse is still affecting our systems." Zorath clenched his fists. This wasn't supposed to happen. Earth was supposed to fall in hours. Yet here they were, fighting for their survival. Meanwhile, on Earth, the soldiers and generals were rallying. The first wave of attacks had done more than just stop the Vanguard. It had given the humans a glimpse of hope. For the first time, Earth's defenders felt like they might actually win. But they couldn't let up. The Vanguard was still a massive threat. It had to be stopped. "We've got one chance," General Carter said, looking at the holographic map of the battlefield. "We can't waste it. If we let them regroup, we're finished." The scientists who had developed Earth's secret weapons were now working with the military to come up with a plan. They had already managed to disable the Vanguard's weapons, but the warship was still a huge force. They needed to get inside and take control of it. Fast. "We'll need to send a team aboard the Vanguard," one of the scientists suggested. "We've been preparing for this. Our best soldiers can board the ship and take out their core systems. General Carter nodded. Do it. We need everything we've got. A small group of Earth's most elite soldiers, equipped with the latest stealth technology, was chosen for the mission. They were trained to fight in space and infiltrate enemy ships. The mission was risky, but they had no choice. If they could board the Vanguard and sabotage its core systems, it could mean the end of the battle. The team prepared quickly, slipping into their specially designed ships. These ships were fast and hard to detect, perfect for sneaking past the Vanguard's remaining defenses. As they launched into the sky, the soldiers knew this was their moment. If they succeeded, they would change the course of the war. The elite soldiers moved silently through space, weaving past missile fire and laser blasts. The Vanguard was still firing back, trying to regain control, but it was clear that it was already on the edge of defeat. The team reached the warship's outer hull and used advanced cutting tools to break through. The Vanguard's alarms blared as they breached the ship, but the humans were already inside. Inside the warship, chaos was unfolding. Zorath and his officers were doing everything they could to fix the ship's failing systems, but they were too late. The humans were already on board, and they had a plan. The elite soldiers quickly moved through the ship, using their stealth technology to avoid detection. They knew the layout of the Vanguard inside and had already mapped out the locations of the most critical systems. Their goal was simple: destroy the core controls and take down the warship's power. As they moved through the halls, they encountered resistance. The Empire's soldiers, still trying to defend their ship, shot at the intruders, but the humans were too fast, too well prepared. One by one, the soldiers were taken down, silent as shadows. The elite humans moved like a well-oiled machine, clearing their way to the heart of the ship. Zorath's face twisted in anger when he saw what was happening. They're inside. He shouted, "We need to stop them. Seal the doors. Lock down the core." But it was too late. The humans had already reached the core room. As the lead soldier planted explosives on the power systems, the Vanguard shook violently. The ship's lights flickered as its core began to fail. The mission was a success. "Let's get out of here," the soldier shouted as the countdown began. The team quickly retreated, using their stealth technology to make their way back to their ships. The Vanguard was going down. It was no longer a threat. Outside, Earth's forces launched their final strike. With the Vanguard disabled and its core systems destroyed, the warship couldn't defend itself. Human jets, missiles, and laser cannons struck the ship with everything they had. The Vanguard shook as explosions rocked its hull. Slowly, the giant warship began to break apart. Zorath, watching helplessly, knew it was over. "Retreat," he ordered, but it was too late. The Vanguard was falling. Earth had won. As the warship crashed to the ground, a wave of relief washed over Earth's soldiers. The battle was not over, but humanity had taken the first step in winning the war. The Galactic Empire had sent their most powerful weapon to conquer Earth, but humans had fought back and proven they were not to be underestimated. The Vanguard's defeat was only the beginning. The Empire had underestimated Earth, and now they would face the full might of humanity. Earth's defenders had shown the galaxy that they would not go down without a fight, and the Empire would soon learn that humans were not weak. They were unstoppable. The Vanguard was in chaos. The once mighty warship, designed to crush planets with ease, was now falling apart. Its core systems had been sabotaged, its weapons were offline, and it was losing altitude rapidly. But even with the warship in disarray, Commander Zorath was not ready to give up. He was a warrior of the Galactic Empire, and he would do whatever it took to stop Earth's rebellion. Inside the Vanguard, the battle was far from over. Earth's elite soldiers had infiltrated the ship and were moving through its vast halls, but they knew that every second they spent on board increased the danger. The ship was collapsing, but there were still soldiers loyal to the Empire, determined to defend it to the end. As the team of human soldiers advanced deeper into the ship, they encountered more resistance. The Empire's soldiers, though disoriented by the ship's damage, fought back fiercely. They knew they were losing the battle, but they were trained to defend their ship no matter the cost. The humans had to be stopped, no matter what. Sergeant Eva Mitchell, the leader of the elite human team, led the charge. She moved quickly, her team right behind her, taking down enemies with swift precision. They used their advanced technology to stay hidden and strike with deadly force. Each step brought them closer to their target, the heart of the Vanguard's power systems. "Stay focused," Sergeant Mitchell said, her voice calm but urgent. "We've come this far. We finish it now." The soldiers nodded and moved forward. They passed through narrow corridors, their boots echoing against the walls. The Vanguard was vast, an enormous ship designed to carry thousands of troops and weapons. But now it felt empty. The lights flickered and alarms blared, but the ship was starting to fall apart. The air felt thick with tension. As they moved deeper into the warship, they encountered the ship's security systems. Laser traps lined the walls, and force fields blocked the doors. But these soldiers had been trained for this. They moved with precision, using their advanced technology to bypass the obstacles. It was a dangerous mission, but they were prepared for anything. Eva glanced at her team. "We're almost there, just a little further." They had one goal: to reach the ship's core and disable it completely. The Vanguard's power systems were the heart of its defense, and if they could destroy it, the warship would be finished. As they approached the core room, the team encountered their toughest challenge yet. The final defense, a group of elite Empire soldiers, stood in their way. These soldiers were the best of the best, trained to protect the most critical areas of the Vanguard. They were heavily armed and knew the ship better than anyone. "Take them down," Eva ordered. Her team didn't hesitate. They fought with everything they had, their weapons flashing in the dim light of the warship. The battle was fierce. The Empire's soldiers were strong, but Earth's soldiers were relentless. Eva and her team fought with speed and precision, each movement calculated. The fight seemed to stretch on forever, but in the end, the humans were victorious. The Empire's soldiers fell one by one, their resistance crumbling under the weight of Earth's elite forces. With the guards defeated, the team finally reached the core room. The air was thick with tension. They had come this far, and now they were standing in the heart of the Vanguard. The room was massive, filled with blinking lights and glowing consoles. This was the place that powered the entire ship, the place that controlled its weapons, shields, and communication systems. "This is it," Eva said, her voice steady. "Let's finish it." Her team quickly set to work. They planted explosives around the core systems, making sure to target the most critical components. The hum of the ship's power systems filled the room, but Eva's team was focused. They worked with speed, knowing they didn't have much time. 5 minutes, one of the soldiers said, glancing at his watch. Eva nodded. The Vanguard was finished. With the core destroyed, there would be no way for the ship to repair itself. The humans had done their job. Just as the final explosive was set, the Vanguard shook violently. The damage to the ship was growing worse by the second. The humans had taken the heart of the warship, and now it was dying. "Let's move out," Eva ordered. The team retreated quickly, moving through the corridors they had come from. They could feel the ship shuddering beneath their feet, and the sounds of explosions grew louder. The Vanguard was falling apart, and there was no stopping it now. As they reached the outer hull, the team quickly boarded their ships. The Vanguard was on its final descent. The massive warship was crumbling, its once mighty structure collapsing in on itself. The humans had done it. They had broken the heart of the Empire's most powerful weapon. The Vanguard plummeted toward Earth's surface, its destruction now inevitable. The humans had won. Inside the warship, Commander Zoreth watched helplessly as his ship was destroyed. His greatest weapon, the ship he had relied on to conquer worlds, was no more. And it was because of the humans. The Galactic Empire had underestimated them, and now they would pay the price. The first battle for Earth was over, but this was just the beginning. The humans had fought back, and the Empire had learned a hard lesson. Earth was not to be taken lightly, and the war was far from over. The vanguard was no more. Earth's forces had struck a decisive blow, and the mighty warship was falling toward the planet's surface, now nothing but a twisted wreck. The sky was filled with the smoke and debris of the destroyed ship as it plummeted, marking the end of the first major battle. But even as the battle seemed to be over, a new wave of uncertainty swept over the Earth's defenders. Commander Zoreth, though defeated, was not finished. His enemies may have destroyed his ship, but the Galactic Empire was far from weak. As the vanguard crashed into the ground, Zoreth and the few remaining loyal soldiers managed to escape in a smaller shuttle, deep into the atmosphere. They would regroup, and they would come back stronger. Back on Earth, the humans were celebrating, but the victory felt hollow. The battle had been intense, and Earth's forces had won, but no one was foolish enough to think that the Galactic Empire would give up so easily. Commander Zoreth's escape meant that the war was far from over. Earth had a brief moment of victory, but they knew the tides could change at any time. General Carter stood on the balcony of the military base, looking up at the sky where the wreckage of the vanguard still lingered in the atmosphere. The ground was shaking with the sounds of celebration, but Carter couldn't shake the feeling that this victory had only made the Empire more determined to destroy Earth. "Sir," one of the officers said, breaking Carter's thoughts, "we've intercepted a message from the Empire. They've already sent a signal for reinforcements. The vanguard was just the beginning." Carter sighed and nodded. "I figured as much. Get me all the reports on their reinforcements. We need to prepare for what's coming." Meanwhile, Zoreth and his remaining soldiers were gathering in their hidden base, deep within the mountains of the alien world. They were battered and broken, but their resolve remained unshaken. The vanguard had fallen, but the Galactic Empire was not going to let Earth stand in its way. Zoreth knew that to conquer Earth, they needed more than just a warship. They needed to hit at the heart of humanity's will. "They'll come for us again," Zoreth said, pacing the dimly lit command room. "We've underestimated their defenses, but we won't make the same mistake twice. We will destroy Earth, once and for all." He turned to his officers, his eyes burning with determination. "Prepare the fleet. We're going back." Across the galaxy, the Galactic Empire's reinforcements were already on the way. Massive ships, even more powerful than the vanguard, were being launched from every corner of their territory. These new ships were built with Earth's defenses in mind, each one designed to withstand the unique technology that had disabled the vanguard. This time, they would not make the same mistakes. This time, they would have no mercy. Back on Earth, General Carter and his team were working tirelessly to prepare for the inevitable. They knew that the first victory was only a small taste of what was to come. The Empire's reinforcements were coming, and they would bring everything they had to wipe out Earth's defenses. In the hidden military base, the scientists who had developed Earth's secret weapons were now working around the clock. They had managed to disable the vanguard, but they knew that wasn't enough. The Galactic Empire would be back, and this time, Earth's defenses needed to be stronger. New technologies, even more advanced than before, were being created. But it wasn't just about weapons. Earth's greatest strength now lay in its unity. "We're not just defending a planet," General Carter said to his officers. "We're defending our way of life. Earth will not fall." As the days passed, Earth's forces strengthened their defenses. The cities were fortified. The skies watched over by a fleet of new human ships that had been built in secret. These ships weren't as large or powerful as the vanguard, but they were fast, nimble, and equipped with the latest technology. Humans had learned from the first battle, and they would use that knowledge to protect their planet. The Empire's reinforcements were coming, but so were Earth's new weapons. The tides were changing, and this time, the humans were ready. As the first of the new ships launched into space, General Carter stood before his team, his eyes locked on the horizon. "We've faced the worst they've thrown at us. Now, we take the fight to them." A new battle was about to begin. The Galactic Empire would not give up, but neither would Earth. Humanity had proven its strength once before, and now it was ready to prove it again. The battle for Earth had only just begun, and the stakes were higher than ever. As the sky above Earth darkened with the shadows of the incoming fleet, the humans stood united. They had fought back once. They would do it again. And this time, they would not just defend Earth, they would strike back with everything they had. The tides of war had shifted, and the Galactic Empire would soon learn that humanity was a force to be reckoned with. The day had come. Earth's sky was filled with the hum of engines, the faint glow of spacecraft preparing for battle. The Galactic Empire's reinforcements were finally arriving, and the planet's defenders were ready. The previous victories had only made the humans more determined. They had learned, adapted, and now they were prepared to face the Empire head-on. General Carter stood at the front of Earth's command center, staring at the large holographic map of the battlefield. The enemy fleet was massive, more ships than they had ever faced before, but this time they weren't afraid. Earth's forces had grown stronger, and their resolve was unbreakable. "Status report," Carter said, his voice calm but firm. "We're ready, sir," the lead officer replied. "All new defense systems are online. Our fleet is in position. We've even developed new weapons, and the last-minute upgrades to our ships are complete. Earth's defenses have never been stronger." Carter nodded, a small smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "Good. It's time to finish this." The Galactic Empire's fleet appeared on the horizon, their ships massive and intimidating, each one designed to crush anything that dared to stand in their way. Their weaponry was unmatched, their shields nearly impenetrable. They had come with the intention of wiping Earth off the map. But the humans were ready. They had learned from their mistakes, and they had the advantage now. The first wave of enemy ships entered Earth's atmosphere, but the humans had already prepared a surprise. Earth's new fleet, small but fast and agile, launched into the sky, taking the Empire by surprise. These ships were designed specifically to combat the Empire's overwhelming firepower. They darted and weaved between the larger enemy ships, their advanced technology making them hard to hit. "Enemy ships are trying to regroup," one of the officers said. "They didn't expect our new ships to be so fast." Carter's smile widened. "Good. Let's keep them off balance." The battle raged on. The air was thick with laser fire, missiles, and the sound of explosions. Earth's new weapons were proving effective. The Galactic Empire's ships, though powerful, couldn't keep up with the relentless assault of Earth's fleet. One by one, the Empire's ships began to fall. Their shields failed, their weapons malfunctioned, and their massive vessels crumpled under the pressure. Inside the main command ship of the Empire's fleet, Commander Zorath watched as his fleet was torn apart. The humans had proven to be more than just a nuisance. They were a serious threat, but it was too late to turn back now. He had no choice but to push forward. "Send in the reinforcements," Zorath ordered. "We can't let them win." More enemy ships arrived, larger and more dangerous than before. They fired everything they had, and for a moment, it seemed like the battle might tip in the Empire's favor. The human ships were beginning to take damage, their shields flickering under the pressure. But just when it seemed like the Empire might break through, Earth's final weapon was revealed. Deep within the command center, scientists and engineers had been working on a secret project for months. They had developed a new kind of weapon, something that could shift the balance of the entire war. Earth's final trump card was a massive, powerful beam weapon, hidden inside one of their largest ships, the Defender. "We've got the signal," one of the engineers said, his voice filled with excitement. "The weapon is ready." General Carter stood tall, watching the monitor as the Defender's beam powered up. It was humanity's final strike. The Empire wouldn't see it coming. "Fire," Carter commanded. The weapon unleashed a blast of energy so powerful, it ripped through the enemy fleet like a knife through butter. The beam cut through the massive ships, disintegrating them in seconds. The shockwave of the blast rattled the air, sending enemy ships spiraling out of control. The Empire's reinforcements had no chance to recover. One by one, the enemy ships fell, crumbling under the force of Earth's new weapon. Zorath watched in disbelief as his fleet was torn apart. His best ships, the ones he had believed would crush Earth, were nothing but debris now. His heart sank as he realized that the Galactic Empire had lost. Earth had triumphed. Retreat. Zorath shouted. Get out of here. We can't win this. But it was too late. Earth's ships closed in, cutting off the last of the Empire's escape routes. There was no place to hide, no place to run. The Galactic Empire's forces were scattered, their ships destroyed, and their leaders defeated. On Earth, the celebration began. The people cheered, their voices echoing through the streets as they realized the magnitude of their victory. The Galactic Empire had sent their best, their most powerful ships, and they had all fallen before Earth's might. Humanity had won. General Carter stood on the command center's balcony, looking out at the sky where the last of the Empire's ships burned up in Earth's atmosphere. He had seen Earth's people fight for their survival, and he knew that this victory wasn't just about defeating an enemy. It was about proving that humanity could stand tall in the face of impossible odds. Earth has triumphed, Carter said softly to himself. We've shown the galaxy what we're made of. And as the sun set over the horizon, Earth's people stood together, stronger than ever before. The war was over, and the Galactic Empire had learned a powerful lesson. Never underestimate humanity.